Xbox On. Welcome to Xbox On, a podcast with one host about one console, Xbox. I'm said host Jesse DeRosa, and on today's episode, we'll be talking about the latest Xbox news for the week of March 5th, 2026, including, with Asha Sharma now at the helm, how are we feeling about Xbox's commitment to hardware? Highguard is officially shutting down after just a few months on the market. PlayStation rolls back multi-platform support, which begs the question whether Xbox will follow suit. All that and more. On this day in Xbox history, in the year 2009, 17 years ago, Resident Evil 5 was released for the Xbox 360. A fitting game, since we're going to be talking about Resident Evil a couple times throughout the show this week. So, Resident Evil 5, I never played it. I feel like this is, I know Resident Evil 5 and 6 are considered the ones that are like part of the era of like of Capcom kind of like losing it. This is the Gears of War Resident Evil. I know that's more so Resident Evil 6 that has that reputation, but Resident Evil 5 to some extent also kind of the reputation of just being a balls to the walls action shooter and less of a Resident Evil game, which is fine. I feel like with enough time now that we're 17 years removed, like kind of the perception, like when these games first came out, it's like they sold really well and performed really well, but people kind of hated them for not being real Resident Evil games. And like, I feel like history's kind of been kind to them, where now it's like, I guess people accept what a goofy franchise Resident Evil is anyway, and people look back at it and go, oh, Resident Evil 5 is mostly fine. Resident Evil 6 is like really lame, but like still kind of fun, but like whatever. It's still a good time. It's still action schlock. It's whatever. And then Resident Evil kind of like goes back into more of its glory days and reinvents itself with Resident Evil 7 and all the remakes we got. And you know, the series is kind of at an all-time high now, but this is kind of the dark age, despite having really good sales, was Resident Evil 5 and 6. But anyway, I've never played Resident Evil 5. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I can tell you all about it. I can't, but I can tell you about some other Resident Evil games, which we will get to today. You guys, welcome to the Xbox On podcast. Glad to be here with all you today. We got a lot of news to get through, I guess. It's not, I don't know, there's a decent chunk of things to talk about. So let's just kick things off, beginning with our notable game releases of the week, because speaking of having a lot to talk about, there are a lot of notable games coming out this week. And in no particular order other than this first one, just because I guess it's, in my opinion, the most important and prominent one. Marathon is out. It's out as the day this podcast goes live. You can go play it. The first new game from Bungie since Destiny. Wow, I mean, technically since Destiny 2, which was 2017, but really since Destiny, which was 2014, because Destiny 2 is just more Destiny content with a fucking 2 slapped on it. Like, Destiny was the project they worked on since 2014, really. That's like all we've had from Bungie, and so it's crazy. This is, you know, it's like really, obviously they worked on Marathon back in the day, and they worked on like Oni and some other weird games they've done, but really, I mean, Bungie's catalog, their library of games for 99% of people really just goes Halo, then Destiny, and now Marathon. I mean, this is like, might as well just be like the third thing they've ever done. Even though it is a revisitation of an older IP from pre-Halo days. I get that. Anyway, man, it's a bittersweet, not bittersweet, but it's a weird feeling, because I love Bungie so much. Bungie is one of my favorite video game studios of all time. I love every fucking product they put out. You know, in my time as a gamer, I've just enjoyed the hell out of their stuff. But I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I played the Server Slam this past week, and I was just not moved by this game at all. We'll get into it a little bit with what I've been playing, but I know this is a little bit of a divisive game, but it's also an important one nonetheless, because, I mean, it's the first new game from Bungie in so fucking long. So it definitely looks and feels like a Bungie game, and I'm just happy to have something new from these guys. But yeah, that's a pretty notable game. Of course, now Bungie's a PlayStation team, so it's weird booting up a new Bungie game on your Xbox and seeing a PlayStation logo, but whatever, everything's weird nowadays. Also, speaking of things that are weird, Xbox owns Blizzard, so World of Warcraft is getting a new DLC, a new expansion called Midnight, and that's available as of now, as of the 2nd of this month. It's out now on PC, of course, because we're talking about World of Warcraft. So yeah, isn't the consolidation of the market so cool? Bungie's owned by PlayStation, Blizzard's owned by Xbox. But that's out. I'm not going to pretend to give a shit about World of Warcraft, so we'll just move right along. Legacy of Kain Defiance Remastered. This was announced at the Game Awards. It's out now as of March 3rd. And then this next one is one that I actually went ahead and downloaded. This was at the Nintendo Switch Indie Direct the other day. It's called Mini Shoot Adventures. It is also a surprise announced stealth release day one Game Pass game. So if you're on Xbox and you have Game Pass Ultimate, this is a game you can go try now. Mini Shoot Adventures. This is I'm not going to really talk about what I've been playing because I've literally played all of like 25 minutes of it, but it's this new indie game that looks really, really cool, where you essentially play as, it's like a twin stick, like space shooter game, but instead of like being in space trying to like score chase and just blast ships as long as you can, you're actually like traversing a map and exploring and unlocking new areas and stuff. It plays pretty similar to it plays like what if a twin stick shooter was also a Zelda game, like a top down like Link to the Past OG Zelda type game. And that's kind of what Mini Shoot Adventures is, and it's a very unique idea, and I don't really have many opinions on it yet because I've literally played it for like 20-30 minutes. But that is a new game out this week that I think is pretty interesting. So give that one a shout. And then another game, speaking of Marathon kind of being this game that I should be all over, but I'm just not like wowed by, Scott Pilgrim EX comes out. A new Scott Pilgrim side-scrolling beat-em-up game is out now. As of the time you listen to this podcast, most important thing here is, of course, new music by Anna Monoguchi, one of my favorite music groups of all time. But yeah, this new game, it seems like it's reviewing fairly well. It's just, I'm not in the mood I'm like a little buried in games I'm playing right now, and I'm just not really in the mood for this, but it is exciting nonetheless to get a new Scott Pilgrim game, and I will be making my way to it at some point in time, and I hope some of you guys will be as well. And then the last notable release here is another Day 1 Game Pass game, Planet of Lana 2, Children of the Leaf. I never played the first Planet of Lana. I know people love that game, so I assume that this is a pretty big deal for some people. I personally don't think I'm going to play this, but I know it's a very notable Game Pass game because that first one did quite well and was heavily associated with its Game Pass release, so definitely something I wanted to note there as well. But that's a handful, 6 really notable releases, and there's some other ones too, but these are the ones I just want to bring up. So I mean, if you're not already inundated with shit to play right now with Resident Evil coming out last week and other things like that, I mean, here's just a shit ton more for you to get excited about. Lots and lots of games to keep us busy right now, that's for sure. All right, guys, let's just, I think probably the best thing to do here is just hop into the news. I think we got about 13 stories or so. So let's just start talking. Start out kind of as a slow news week. How do you follow up after everything that happened last week with Phil Spencer leaving and Asha Sharma starting and everything? Like, how are we going to really follow that up? And sure enough, we got enough things to talk about that we ended up having quite a busy news week. So I think first what we want to do is just follow up on what's going on in the world of the new leadership at Xbox. So let's touch on a little bit of that, and then we'll move on to a bunch of other miscellaneous stories. So, all right, from PureXbox.com, here we got news about Asha Sharma again talking about the importance of the home console. Last week, we saw a video. This is what Pure Xbox writes up. A video and a couple of images going around, making the rounds from the Xbox event where Xbox boss Asha Sharma was introduced to her new team by Phil Spencer. And we know a little bit more about what was actually said at that event now from a transcript over at Windows Central, which highlights how Sharma used the opportunity to reiterate 3 commitments that were laid out in her initial statement, where she talked about delivering great games, return of Xbox, and building a better future of play, or building the future of play. So during this return to Xbox segment, the second point, she talks about, this is where she kind of drops the thing that we want to talk about here. She says, the second thing is this return of Xbox. We are going to start with console and make sure that we have understanding that this is our reference experience. We will meet players where they are and build experiences that are instant and seamless and accessible. So I just want to talk about that, not the first or third point, just that first point, or that second point there. So let's get into that real quick. She wraps up her statement by saying, as we think about the road ahead, it's not going to be or any one person. We will be a team Xbox. We will not be a studio or platform or marketing or operations. We will just be Team Xbox, and we'll get through this together. Okay, so she talks about unifying the team, unifying the identity, unifying the brand, and I think a lot of people got excited because she keeps talking about the importance of the console and understanding the console, and that all starts with the console, and all starts with this core Xbox fan base and building out around it. I think that's one thing that really got a lot of Xbox people hyped, was this idea of building out around the core of Xbox's fan base, the console and its original long-standing fans. But if you pay attention to this second part here, she says, the return of Xbox. I know people hear that and they go, oh my God, we're back. Exclusive games, fuck PlayStation. It's all about the console, whatever. Maybe Game Pass goes away. No, listen. What is the return of Xbox? She says, we are going to start with the console. That doesn't mean finish. That means start. Means that's part of it. And make sure that we understand this is our reference experience, meaning that everything starts with the console and that you want to build out your cloud and alternate platform experiences around trying to replicate what's great about the console experience. We will meet new players where they are. Okay, your new players might be on PC, they might be on mobile, they might be on PlayStation, and build experiences that are instant and seamless and accessible. So I don't read this as Xbox is going to get back into exclusives. I read this as Xbox is going to work hard to make sure gaming on Windows and gaming on phones and cloud gaming and gaming on PlayStation is going to be as much of it as a full experience, an all-encompassing experience, a complete Xbox-like experience as humanly possible. This reads way less like Xbox is going back to the good old days of console exclusives and no Game Pass, and it reads way more like the next generation of Xbox is some PC hybrid device that runs Steam, and we got to make these devices look and run and play well like a console would, because we know at the end of the day that is what you expect from Xbox. That's your reference point, is an Xbox console experience, and we want to provide something like that, but on a hybrid PC console device, while you're also able to play your games on Switch and PlayStation and fucking cloud or whatever. So that is how I read this. I just want to be clear. What I said last week was that Asha Sharma is someone who's saying a lot of things that make me want to get excited, but we can't get excited yet. We don't know who this person is. This person doesn't know what she's doing yet. This is early days. We know that this administration is going to work fast and hard, and things are going to be changing real soon. I'm sure we're just mere months away from not recognizing some of the things they're going to do with this brand. But I think the important thing to note is that at the end of the day, her job is not going to be to cut profits and cut sales of games and things that Xbox is doing well. Right now, Xbox is suffering severely, but what it's not doing bad at is selling their games on PlayStation. They have no financial incentive or imperative to roll this initiative back, so I personally think they are very much doubling down on publishing their games on PlayStation and on Nintendo and on cloud and on Steam and all these things, because that is just the bed they've made, and they cannot go back. As I said last week, it's nice to fantasize, it's nice to daydream, it's nice to think about, but it's not going to happen, and we're not going back. You cannot put the genie back in the bottle. In fact, PlayStation, let's talk about this in conjunction, right? This is a different story. Let's actually just combine them. So PlayStation announced this year that they're going to be pulling back on PC. So Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg did this report. It's been kind of rumored for about a week or so, but now this report is more concrete, which is that PlayStation will soon be pulling back PC ports, meaning when they do multiplayer games like Marathon or like Helldivers, yeah, that will be on PC. But when they make single-player AAA games like Ghost of Yotei or Wolverine or Spider-Man or any of these kinds of games, those games are going to be locked to PlayStation consoles. They are no longer going to be putting those kinds of games on PC. So I recently just played Spider-Man 2 on PC. And it was great because I love Spider-Man, but I don't want to buy a PS5. People like me will no longer be able to do that because PlayStation is backing out of supporting PC for their single-player content. They want you to come to PlayStation for that. Now, some of the sources Bloomberg reported said caution that things could change in the future due to the unprecedented nature of the video game industry, and that Sony's plans are constantly shifting. But in recent weeks, PlayStation scrapped plans to bring Ghost of Yotei and other internally developed games to PC. So they're not saying that this is a permanent path forward, but it does seem to be the path that they're taking currently, which is interesting because they have a team that is their entire job is to port games from console to PC. So I don't know what that team will do anymore. Nixus is what they're called. Anyway. But Bloomberg's report also mentions in its conclusion that some executives at PlayStation may not be thrilled at the prospect of one of the company's flagship games like God of War running on the next Xbox console, which we know is reported to run Steam and things like that. So, all right, let's talk about this. We don't have to get too much into what PlayStation is doing for the sake of what that means for PlayStation, but it is important to note, guys, PlayStation was in a situation where they were flirting with and dabbling with PC. What they wagered was, we can take some games from PlayStation and put them on PC, and the people who will buy them for the most part are people who would never have bought a PlayStation anyway. Rather than just lock our games to PlayStation and only make money off people who buy our console, we could double dip, so to speak, by selling PlayStation consoles, selling games on PlayStation to our players, and then selling them again 6 to 12 months later to PC players who would never buy a PlayStation anyway. And that was kind of the conventional wisdom at first. They put Spider-Man and Days Gone and things like that on PC, and these games did really, really well on PC. But the longer time's gone on, the more and more they've done this, the less and less this has kind of worked out for them, as sales have started to fall back a whole lot, with games even like God of War Ragnarok and Spider-Man 2 and such. So the idea is that they're going to kind of stop doing this altogether now. But I just want to be clear that this is a very different concept than what Xbox is doing, because Xbox started going in on PC in 2016, back during the Xbox One era, where they did Play Anywhere, and it was like, oh, you buy fucking Quantum Break and you get it on PC, and you also get on Xbox. That was Xbox's foray into PC. And honestly, even though it rubbed people the wrong way at the time, I think with time we've all kind of gotten used to it, and people are mostly like, yeah, Xbox and PC are more or less one and the same. You know, Windows, PC, the Xbox app, Xbox, it's all Microsoft, whatever. But what really rubbed people the wrong way and hasn't let up is Xbox coming to PlayStation. And I think that is just a step too far, where, PlayStation putting games on PC is weird. And it probably did a little bit of something to their brand. And Xbox putting their games on PC was weird in 2016 and probably did a little bit of something to their brand, because there were probably some people who didn't buy Xboxes and just stuck to PC. But Xbox putting their games on PlayStation, that's different. PlayStation putting their games on Xbox, that'd be different. Obviously, they put their multiplayer games like Helldivers and Marathon, but you don't see PlayStation put games like God of War or Spider-Man on Xbox, and you won't see them do that. And because once you do that, you really create a scenario where it's like the floodgates are open. Now you can't roll it back, especially if you're Xbox, because PlayStation is able to experiment more because they have the install base of the games industry. Xbox, you have nothing. You can't go back on that. You can't go up to a bunch of people who are already like 1 foot out the door with Xbox and then go buy all the way, all these games are coming to PlayStation, because then they're just like, all right, we're totally checked out. Fuck you. We're done here. So I just want to reiterate that I don't think these are like one-to-one, apples-to-apples comparisons, and that this idea that like Asha Sharma is saying things that kind of suggest maybe they're going to really reinvest in the console, and PlayStation's backing off of PC, maybe everyone is going back to their silos. As much as I think a lot of us would love that, myself included, especially with Xbox not supporting PlayStation, I just think that's wishful thinking. I just think Xbox is in a position where the only thing making them any fucking money these days is putting their games on other platforms, PC and PlayStation. If you take that away from Xbox, all you're left with is a console that doesn't sell for shit and a Game Pass service that is expensive as shit to operate, that they don't make any money off of, but it does pull in a lot of revenue, which doesn't really matter. And that's just not a good thing for a brand who is already in its best position possible, reporting, quarter over quarter massive drops in hardware revenue and, dips in services spending and things like that. So honestly, the only thing Xbox really has going for them right now is that they own Bethesda and Activision and all these service games that they can make shit tons of money off of on platforms like Steam and PlayStation. So for them to possibly go away from supporting these platforms to try and reinvigorate the console brand, it doesn't work like that. And we can't be so naive to be like, well, of course it doesn't work like that because they're putting their games on PlayStation, but if they stop putting their games on PlayStation, PlayStation players would run out and buy an Xbox. It's like, we all know that is sure as fuck not true. That's sure as hell not true, because PlayStation hasn't had any goddamn games this whole generation. And even in the early Xbox Series days, when there were some cool games coming out, and they were only on Xbox, nobody was buying an Xbox for Starfield and for fucking Forza Horizon 5 and for Halo Infinite. Like, these games came out and did well to their audience, but you didn't see people abandon PlayStation for Xbox during those days. You just saw Xbox had a real big boom with its existing core audience. And so I just want to be clear. I don't think this this news of PlayStation backing out really means a whole lot for Xbox, but I mean, yeah, continue to dream. I just realize at the end of the day, Asha Sharma was not put in her position to significantly reduce the amount of revenue Xbox pulls in. Her job is to fix it. And I don't think that's the way you're going to fix it, even though it's the way fanboys like myself and all you guys probably want them to fix it, but it just doesn't work that way. All right, let's move on. All right, speaking of Asha Sharma, from Pure Xbox, via an interview with GamesBeat, former Xbox boss Peter Moore spoke his opinion about the new head. Moore said in one of his opinions on Sharma that she's going to be just fine in her new role as CEO of gaming, but admits that she's got plenty of challenges to navigate along the way. For example, mentioning how she has to do a lot to learn about the gaming industry itself, along with the perils of social media and how to navigate feeling surrounded by her AI background. However, he wishes her all the best. He said, quote, "My advice would be to listen, maybe a little less social media right now. Putting your gamer tag out and explaining yourself and apologizing at times, there's nothing to apologize for. But listen, learn, understand what your team, it's a massive group of people there now, much bigger than when I was. Understand what gamers want and the journey that Xbox has been on since those very early days. Listen, learn, and keep your head down from time to time. Don't try to be inauthentic. Challenge your PR team and what they think you should do if they don't feel it's right. Keep the controller in your hand every night for the next 6 weeks. Keep the gamer tag going full bore. The more you play and the more you'll learn. She'll be just fine. It's going to be a very interesting period." The full interview, of course, has much other stuff said. They discuss other topics and stuff. But they talk about this other fun topic that I wish we could get into here, but whatever. We're not going to do this. Where they talk about how Peter Moore feels like some fun has been taken out of the industry and that he'd love to see Sharma bring that spirit back. He's talking about the console war spirit and how there was a sense of competition back in his day brought on by console wars, suggesting PlayStation and Nintendo bosses actually had so much fun competing with each other back then, but now everyone's so like play nice together or be just ignorant of or dismissive of the competition rather than like competitive with one another. He also makes the point saying how Phil Spencer is a wonderful person, and it hurts to see the criticism from people on the internet talking about how he's the reason Xbox is in this situation when they don't know the impact that he's had at Microsoft and the people he's worked with over the years. While that is probably true, still the buck stopped with him, and all this is an Xbox shit, and Xbox games coming to PlayStation stuff happened under his leadership. We can write off Game Pass and be like, let's end it. This was a failed experiment. It was a good idea, but it just didn't work out. But bringing Xbox games to PlayStation and destroying the brand, I mean, whether they were Phil's ideas or not, that stuff happened under his leadership, and the guy has to be held accountable for that, even though I also like Phil Spencer. I'm sure many of us think Phil Spencer seems like a cool dude, and people that know him probably like him quite a bit, but there's no denying that Xbox completely fell to shambles under his leadership in these past few years, and that's something we got to deal with. So anyway, I think really the only thing to take away here about his comments to Asha Sharma, is that it's the same thing I think a lot of us more level-headed people feel, where it's like, it doesn't matter that she's not a gamer. It doesn't matter that she doesn't come from a background of working in the games industry. What matters is she someone who can come in here, surround herself with the right people, and identify what the problems are at Xbox and do some things to make a difference. I don't fucking see how it's possible. I feel like Xbox is already on live support, and that ultimately, whether this is truly her intention or her implementation or not, I think ultimately what she's going to be here to do is probably fucking sunset or bust up this brand in some way, because I just don't know how it's possible to fix Xbox. If you fix Xbox the way fans like myself want it, you're going to break Xbox, because I want you to make games exclusive again. I want you to just focus on the home console, nothing else. I want you to just focus on great games and nothing else. And I want you to get rid of Game Pass. But if you'd focus on what needs to be focused on, you're going to put Starfield on PlayStation 5 and make shit tons of money putting Forza Horizon 6 on PlayStation 5. And you're going to put Halo on PlayStation 5. And then after you do that, you're going to play Gears of War on PlayStation 5. So that is the future we're headed into. And then we'll talk about cloud, and executives will make some stupid comments about playing video games in Africa and female gamers or whatever they do to try and make it seem like they're fucking growing the market or whatever. But anyway, nonetheless, I am just I know we just got to be patient and wait, but I'm just so curious to see what what Asha does really, because there's just so much that's got to have to change, and I think what's exciting about Asha Sharma is that the bullshit has already happened. The boat has already like really started sailing without us, guys. That's the thing, is like, you can still sit down on your couch, boot up your Xbox, download the latest game like Resident Evil and play it and enjoy it. But Xbox, this is an Xbox campaign, putting the games on PlayStation, all the things they've done, the console sales, falling off retail store shelves, raising the prices on hardware multiple times last year when it was already selling like shit. I mean, we're at the point where all you can do is either put the brand out of its misery and let it die, or try to do exactly what the fans want and watch it die anyway, because you can't put the genie back in the bottle. So I don't see a way forward for Xbox where this survives, but I think Microsoft will try everything in their power, because they recognize Xbox is the only consumer brand they have that's worth a damn at this point, because they're just so incapable of creating good consumer products or good consumer brands and sticking to them and investing in them. And if there's any desire to retain any bit of consumer brand left for the company, then they're going to really have to hold on to Xbox with all they have left, and I just don't know if that will be enough. Anyway, guys, let's move on. Speaking of things that were unfortunately not enough, troubled free-to-play shooter Highguard is officially shutting down a little over 6 weeks past its high-profile launch. Developer Wildlight Entertainment has confirmed. The game was initially showed during the Game Awards in December, and then was released on January 26th. Didn't do super well at all. Player numbers quickly plummeted, and most of the team was laid off in the month that followed. Now the California-based studio has confirmed that Highguard will shut down entirely on March 12th, which is, just like in a week here or so. In an update posted on social media, they said that the game had not been able to attract enough players to sustain development long-term, and after a designer claimed that most of the team had been laid off last month, Wildlight subsequently confirmed that it had let go a number of team members while keeping the core group intact to support the game. According to a Bloomberg report on Highguard's development, gaming giant Tencent had quietly funded Wildlight Entertainment, and the studio's initial wave of staff cuts came after the conglomerate decided to pull out due to the game's soft launch. So, rest in peace, Highguard. It is sad that this happened so fast. I mean, I think it was one of those, like, you kind of hope it manages to limp on in some way, but they couldn't even hold it together for more than 2 months, and now the game is shutting down in the next week. And I still haven't tried the game at all. I'm sure it's completely fine, but man, it sucks, man, because even though, like, I look at a game like this, I'm like, nope, that's not for me, write it off instantly. It's just sad the way people like champion and try to conjure up like what the next big failure is going to be, and then they like stand on the sidelines and cheer for it to happen. And I just think that's so fucked up, man. But I will say this: while I don't want for anyone to lose their job, and I don't want for there to be even more hardship for people working in the games industry, seeing that they were funded by Tencent does make me happy, just to know that Tencent probably lost a shit ton of money on this deal. And I don't like Tencent, so it's good to see Tencent-related projects fail, even though I don't want to see the people behind them necessarily suffer. It's a complicated feeling, but I'm just trying to look for a silver lining here, which is fuck Tencent. Speaking of Tencent, I think it's worth mentioning. Let's just scroll down and lump this in here because it's so related. The Trump regime is debating whether or not to force Chinese gaming giant Tencent to divest its stakes in video game companies. That's according to a new report by the FT, which is a paywalled site, which claims that the U.S. officials have held meetings to decide whether Tencent's investment in U.S. gaming firms pose a security risk. Tencent, the world's largest gaming company, has invested in more than 800 developers worldwide, including stakes in Epic Games, Larian, Krafton, as well as shares in Ubisoft, as well as others. It also owns Riot Games and Supercell. According to the FT, cabinet officials planned to discuss the matter this week, but postponed the meeting due to scheduling issues. Trump is due to meet his Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping, who he's constantly trying to out communist every fucking day. And according to the one source, last summer, Tencent was even negotiating measures with the Committee on Foreign Investments in the U.S. to mitigate Washington's security concerns. If it is decided to act, the U.S. government could force Tencent to divest its stakes in U.S. gaming companies, kind of like they did with TikTok. Tencent investments in gaming firms has long been questioned by the U.S. as a potential security risk, but due to the amount of data that the company collects of U.S. players. But the U.S. usually doesn't actually do anything about anything, so this is different. But last January, the U.S. government added Tencent to a blacklist of companies that it believes are linked to the Chinese military. At the time, Tencent said that they believed the inclusion of this list was a mistake, saying, quote, "We are not military company or supplier," Tencent spokesperson Danny Marty said in a statement. "Unlike sanctions or export controls, the listing has no impact on the business. We will nonetheless work with the Department of Defense to address any misunderstandings." So that was interesting. I remember when that happened. That was a funny situation. But here's the reality of it. I don't like saying anything positive ever about these guys, but broken clock is right twice a day. Even if the reason I want this and the reason they want this is for different reasons, I just don't support Tencent. I don't like the idea of companies like Tencent investing in all these game developers and publishers around the world and taking this seedy money. I think they are a nefarious and bad company that represent a nefarious and bad government. And if the U.S. government was buying stakes in other companies, I'd feel similarly. I don't want the fucking Trump regime buying stocks in like fucking Nintendo and Xbox and stuff. Although I guess in a way they kind of already serve companies like Microsoft, so it's not that far off. But anyway, this is, even though I hate the people behind it and their reasoning for it is not quite the same as my reasoning, I still like to see stuff like this happen. And it would be good to see Tencent forced to divest in Western, American-owned studios and publishers that they've invested money in, because we don't fucking want Tencent, a company that is run by a group of men who are mostly card-carrying Communist Chinese Party members, to be investing in your fucking Ratchet and Clank and My Little Pony games. So this is probably for the best to try and decouple this, and I'll count it as a win, despite the fact that I hate the people behind it so much, and they're rapists and pedophiles and terrorists and liars and grifters and all the horrible things. But again, a broken clock is right twice a day. And in this instance, trying to pull Tencent out of U.S. gaming companies, I think would be fucking awesome. Now, can we do something about Saudi Arabia buying EA? Or, oh no, we can't, because Trump's fucking family is in on the deal, because they're a bunch of fucking scam artists who are right now murdering innocent girls in schools in Iran, because after lying about stopping 8 wars that never happened, they started a war with your taxpayer dollars, and that's cool. So Trump is raping little girls, he's bombing little girls, he's doing all the things to little girls except stopping this little girl from complaining, because I'm salty. I'm just mad about everything, and I fucking hate these people. Anyway, let's move on. All right, this is a fun one. So speaking of Nazis, leaked casting details have allegedly corroborated that a third Wolfenstein game is indeed in production at developer Machine Games. Last month, multiple publications reported that the Swedish-based Bethesda studio had started on Wolfenstein 3 following the completion of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Now, thanks to alleged casting details published by MP First, we have some potential details on what the third game could look like. The details for a third project, codenamed Valkyrie, are reportedly attached to some performance and casting director who worked on previous Machine Games titles. Assuming they're accurate, according to the casting call, the third game will be featuring a new character codenamed Sofia, who is said to be described as a Ukrainian orphan between the ages of 8 and 11, who, alongside her adopted dog Ralph, is said to form a bond with William and accompany him on his travels. Oh God, hopefully Donald Trump's not in this game, because he will either rape or bomb this little girl. The description also describes... That's a horrible sentence. The description describes the character's background, saying, quote, "This is the character's background. While initially suspicious and traumatized by war, she blooms under the care of the resistance," possibly referring to the Kreso Circle. I don't speak fucking Eastern European, as a strong-willed survivor. The casting call is said to state the performance capture is scheduled to begin in April and go all the way into 2027, which suggests the game is in full production at this point. A new entry would make sense, considering Machine Games studio head last year, Jake Gustafson, admitted that the developer wasn't finished with the Wolfenstein story and that they had originally envisioned a trilogy. So this would be really cool. So it sounds like it's all but confirmed that we're getting a new Wolfenstein from Machine Games, which is just fucking awesome. I'm so excited about that. While I really loved Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, I would so much rather these guys be working on more Wolfenstein, or just not, fucking licensed video game movie IP, just because I want them to do their things, and they done Wolfenstein so fucking well. I guess even though they didn't invent Wolfenstein, they are in the family of studios behind Wolfenstein, and they've just done such a great job with this IP. Anyway, yeah, I love this. I don't remember exactly what his quote was, Jerk Gustafson, who was like, the first one was about like BJ Blazkowicz being obsessed with like killing Nazis, but then he meets this woman and falls in love. And then the second one is about like him finding out that like there's important things like romance and family and fighting for community in the face of like tyranny and the Nazi regime and all that stuff. And then the third game would be about like that next step, which I don't remember what it was. So I don't know if it's about like the next generation or something. I know obviously there's a spin-off game which is about his daughters, which sucks. That game's not good. But the idea of this like Ukrainian orphan, like if this is someone that like I don't know, if he like orphans this little girl and she grows up to be like the next generation of BJ Blazkowicz, like Nazi slayer, like I don't know, that'd be fucking cool, I guess. But whatever it is, man, I welcome another Wolfenstein game, please and thank you so much. So exciting news. I doubt we'll see anything about that until probably next year, maybe next summer at the Xbox Showcase. That could be a reveal, but otherwise I wouldn't expect to see anything too soon on it. All right, moving right along, guys. Speaking of things that you didn't expect to see, but here we are. Windows Central relays that there have been widespread rumors of a PlayStation 5 version of Starfield for months now, but now new leaks suggest we could be just a few weeks away from it launching. The leaks come from credible industry insider Bill Kuhn of the French outlet Deal Labs, who reports that Starfield's release on PS5 could be April 7th, and investigating a similar report from Polish site ppe.pl. It's also been said that pre-orders for the PS5 version will go live on March 17th, roughly 2 weeks from now. Just as it is on Xbox and PC, the PS5 edition will go for either a $50 standard edition or a $70 premium edition, which will include Shattered Space and 1,000 creation credits. Interestingly enough, I guess the rumor was that the PlayStation 5 version would be announced and released alongside some kind of like 2.0 version where there'd be another expansion. But Todd Howard was recently in an interview where he confirmed that there is no like 2.0 updated, that there's new stuff to look forward to, new content of some sort, but it's not like an overhaul 2.0 massive expansion. And I feel like he probably would have just kept his fucking mouth shut if that weren't true, but the fact that he said something about it is probably to temper expectations. So I'm guessing that that's probably the case and that there isn't some kind of big 2.0 update for the game, but that doesn't mean we can't look forward to PlayStation players getting another one of our console exclusives as we wonder why Xbox hardware is doing so poorly. I don't know, fuck it. But there's your update on Starfield for PlayStation. All right, guys. This next one I think is just a really fun one, and I think it's really cool. I want to find some time to get to this and try it out. But Activision's taken to the internet to announce Black Ops Royale, a new Blackout-inspired experience coming to the free-to-play Call of Duty Warzone on Xbox and other platforms. So for those who don't remember, Blackout was the Battle Royale mode that was for Black Ops 4 in 2018. It was the first time Call of Duty did a Battle Royale mode, and it was actually awesome. It was really good. I wish I played that game more when it was new, so I could have enjoyed more of Blackout, because Blackout was really good. The map was awesome. It was like classic Battle Royale. You drop in, you have nothing. It was very classic. You scavenge for weapons and upgrades and items like in Fortnite, and then you try to be the last man standing, but the map was cool. They'd have like a Nuketown section and a zombie section and sections from different maps of Black Ops games, and it had that like fun Call of Duty color palette that made it easier to see, and it wasn't just a beige, boring, ultra-realistic looking game, and it was just a really, really fun Battle Royale. It had watercraft vehicles and other things for more traversal options. You had grappling hooks and stuff like that. Warzone just ended up being this garish, ultra-realistic, sad, loadout-driven, fucking tactical, slow-ass Battle Royale that I know a lot of people like, but I just think Warzone is a piece of shit compared to Black Ops 4's Blackout mode. So it's super cool. I mean, what this ultimately is it's just Warzone, but it's a tweaked mode that operates and plays more like Blackout, which is really cool. It's really fun that they're doing that. So they said, yeah, there are a lot of Blackout experiences or influences in this new mode, like bullet drops and weapon handling, as well as armor system that uses the trauma kit, capturing Blackout pacing, traversal, and combat feel in the modern way. The team goes on to say that this is not a remake of Blackout, but more a unique experience that pays homage to the game while featuring 25 player teams in a massive 100-player setup. Think Warzone meets OG Blackout, and you'll be about there, it seems. The new map in question is Avalon, of course, which is the Black Ops 7 map. And on that map, there'll be various 6v6 arenas that host campaign levels like from Black Ops 6 and 7, and it should be a map that is familiar in size and scope to the existing Blackout and Warzone players. The new experience goes live March 12th, so next week. I think this is pretty fucking cool. I don't really have time to go back to Black Ops 7 right now, but I will make some time to try this out because I just really respect that they're doing that. Obviously, this game just needs a shot in the arm right now, and that's what it is. Although I will say it's interesting to see that apparently Black Ops 7 is like the number one best-selling game for the past 2 months in a row, despite the fact that apparently Call of Duty's dead. So Call of Duty Black Ops 7 is doing well. It has a tail like other Call of Duty games have. It just initially got its ass kicked by games like Arc Raiders and Battlefield 6. So very interesting to see how it's going, but obviously by Call of Duty standards, the game is definitely underperforming, and this is just kind of like a throw some shit at the wall to see what sticks and try to get people to come try it again. I think Black Ops 7 so far just had some of the wackiest, funnest maps and modes and ideas and guns and things like that, and I just think the game doesn't get enough credit for all the things it does right, despite its absolute ass campaign mode, which I know was horrible. Guys, this next one gets my hopes up, but also like not really, because like I just feel like we've had too many of these kinds of it's Guitar Hero's return, but like not really. But let's get into it. From VGC, a newly reformed Red Octane Games has revealed its upcoming spiritual successor to Guitar Hero. Red Octane, of course, the original team that created Guitar Hero, announced last August that they were reforming, that the company that was originally responsible for the series has returned to a new studio called Red Octane Games, with veterans from the rhythm game industry joining the team. Now the studio has revealed that a new game called Stage Tour, a new music title currently in active development with plans to release in 2026 holiday season. According to the studio, Stage Tour will be a long-term platform created in conjunction with the community and will continue to evolve following its release. So this is not supposed to be like Guitar Hero was, where every 4 or 5 months there was a new one. This is supposed to be a long-standing platform for people who want to play Guitar Hero-like games, which is awesome. According to the team, the platform will evolve over time. It will feature new instruments as well as a controller and keyboard compatibility for those who don't want to buy instruments and peripherals. A multi-year partnership with Gibson has also been announced, with the Gibson, Epiphone, and Kramer brands set to be integrated into the game. Stage Tour, quote, is our love letter to rhythm games, Red Octane says. This is studio head Simon Eberger. In a statement, he says, "We want Stage Tour to feel similar and authentic, but also fresh, utilizing modern technology and its connection, and to connect gamers with music they love and enjoying the platform that evolves as it evolves and grows over time. With new instruments and deep charting systems, we'll be raising the bar on what we believe is a rhythm game can be, while also catering to those wishing to simply enjoy a casual experience and have a good time. Closed alpha testing for the game will begin this summer, with experienced group of community fans and from rather gaming community providing feedback during this game's development." So this game looks and sounds great on paper. My only issue is that they released a trailer and the game just looks a little rough. Like the note highway just doesn't look as fluid and crisp as it did in Guitar Hero. But more importantly, because that's the stuff you can fine tune and fix over time. More importantly, this game, like, I cannot stand the way the characters look in this game. It's like this half real. It's like half like Guitar Hero 3, and then half like this weird like chibi Fable looking. Like everyone's short, but they're not supposed to be short, and they're kind of like stiff and goofy and cartoony looking, but they just look like shit. They look like Sims characters fucked Fable characters in the Guitar Hero universe. Like I fucking hate the way the characters look in this game so much. But that's obviously a minor gripe in the grand scheme of things. What really matters is, you know, they show off this new controller that looks very much like the Xbox 360 Guitar Hero 2 controller, but in red instead of white. And it would just be really nice to have the return of Guitar Hero. I appreciate it in 2015 when they tried to bring Guitar Hero back and do Guitar Hero Live, but that just was something different. It was good, but it wasn't Guitar Hero. It was something else. And then I always appreciate that Rock Band stuck around longer and they tried to come back with Rock Band 4 and all those things. And even though that didn't really pan out, I appreciate the effort and the attempt. The difference is I just feel like Rock Band's only thing Rock Band ever really had going for it, in my opinion, as someone who has extensively played Guitar Hero and Rock Band, is that Rock Band just always had a better catalog of songs and was always updating with more and more and more DLC, more songs to play. And that was the best thing about Rock Band. But other than that, literally everything else was better about Guitar Hero. Guitar Hero just looked and felt better to play. The peripherals were more fun to use and better responsive, or more responsive and tactile. The game just felt and looked better to play. It was just always better. The songs, sometimes there'd be like a single song that would be on Rock Band and also on Guitar Hero, and the Guitar Hero version of the song would just be so much more fun to play. The Guitar Hero was always just the better game of the two. So the idea of trying to recreate that magic is something that really speaks to my Xbox 360 addled brain. But I just don't know that this is something that they can really make happen, because we've tried to come back. We've tried to do this. Fortnite's got the festival mode, and in 2015, Rock Band 4, Guitar Hero Live came out and tried to revitalize the space. I don't know. I don't know what it takes, how much time has to pass, or what we had to do to the formula, whether we had to reinvent it or try to just honor what it was back in its heyday of 2007. I don't really know what the game plan is, how you do it right. But I will just say, if they can pull this off, it'd be so great, because I desperately want Guitar Hero back in my life, and I think it's cool that there are still people out there passionate about trying to make this happen, even though I don't have full confidence that it'll happen. But that being said, Red Octane Games, welcome back. We're rooting for you over here on the Xbox On podcast, so we'll just see how that goes. All right, let's start to wrap things up. We got a couple of wrap-up stories here. This first one I'm actually pretty excited about. This is a very out of left field announcement that happened late last week, but Konami and Limited Run Games have announced a new Marvel Maximum collection, a new compilation of retro Marvel games. This announcement was kind of made very quietly, and there's not a lot of outlets that covered it for some reason. And the trailer barely has any views, but this is a real thing that's happening. The compilation, which is coming soon to Xbox Series consoles and PC, but no date yet, contains a total of 6 games, most of which have multiple versions, resulting in 13 games, but really it's 6 games. The full list of games is as follows. It's X-Men the arcade game, Captain America and the Avengers. There's the arcade version, the Mega Drive version, the Genesis version, the SNES version, Spider-Man and Venom Maximum Carnage, both the Mega Drive / Genesis version and the SNES version. That's the one I'm most excited about, because I played the fuck out of Maximum Carnage on my Sega Genesis growing up. Venom and Spider-Man Separation Anxiety, which is, they have the Sega and the Nintendo version, and then Spider-Man and the X-Men Arcades Revenge. They have the Sega version, the Super Nintendo version, the Game Boy version, and the Game Gear version. So Sega handheld and console, Nintendo handheld and console. And then lastly, they have the NES game Silver Surfer. I'm not going to lie to you and act like I know a lot of these games. I have played only one of these games. I've played Spider-Man and Venom Maximum Carnage, and I fucking love that game so much growing up. But X-Men the arcade game, sign me up. Captain America and the Avengers, sign me the fuck up. Spider-Man and Venom Separation Anxiety, sign me up. This other game, Spider-Man and the X-Men, never heard of it. Fucking let's go. Silver Surfer on NES, I bet it's rough, but I'll take it. I look forward to this collection. If they can hit this for $30 or something, fuck yeah, I'll be there. I'm not a huge Limited Run Games fan. I know there's a lot of controversy about them. Their customer service is horrible. But it's going to be released digital as well, so I'll just buy the shit digital. I don't care, whatever. These are a lot of Konami licensed games anyway, so you're also really just helping Konami. But at the end of the day, I just want all the fucking Marvel games. It'll be good to have these on my Switch. I'll gladly take them. Fucking cool. Hopefully we get an announcement about that soon. This should be a 2025 or 2026 release if all goes well. But the digital version includes a digital archive with high-resolution scans of box art, manuals, and magazine ads, so lots of cool stuff there, extra goodies with the game. All right, let's talk about this next. Capcom is doing a spotlight event on March 5th, the day this podcast goes live, so they'll have a 30-minute presentation with updates on Street Fighter, Mega Man, Monster Hunter, and Pragmata. So won't really get into that because obviously it's happened by the time this podcast goes live, but just wanted to point that out, that that's happening. We can talk about it next week on the show. But keeping with Capcom, Capcom has said that Resident Evil 9 Requiem has already sold more than 5 million fucking copies in just 5 days on the market. I can't stress to you guys how impressive that is. A good Resident Evil game usually sells around 7 to 10 million lifetime. 5 million in 5 days on the market, that is absurd. That is really good. I know there's a lot of hype around this game. We'll get into it in a little bit. I'm very hyped about this game. I already have it preloaded, ready to go. Haven't played it yet, but oh man, this is That's really fucking impressive. 5 million copies. Clearly this game is a massive hit for them, and good for them. It looks awesome. I'm excited to play it. I know people are loving it, so that's really great. Guys, our final wrap-up story is just a Game Pass update. So we got some games coming and going to the service. So as of the day you're listening to this podcast, Final Fantasy 3, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, To a T, EA Sports F125, Planet of Lana 2, Children of the Leaf, are all coming to Game Pass. They're all available now. Planet of Lana 2 is a day one Game Pass game. So you can enjoy this new slew of games. Obviously, some pretty notable games like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and Planet of Lana. This is a really good slew. But coming soon, we have some even more games, some other really great ones. Construction Simulator comes out March 10th. Cyberpunk 2077 comes to Game Pass on March 10th. Hollow Knight Silksong, the sequel, the new Hollow Knight game, on March 12th comes to Game Pass, which is a great deal. And DreamWorks Gabby's Dollhouse Ready to Party, probably the most important game here. Unfortunately, you will have to wait until March 17th for that to come out, but another big game coming to Game Pass. However, we always have to lose some games to gain some games, so on March 15th, the following 6 games or so should be leaving Game Pass, so try them or buy them, or they're gone forever, and you'll be like me without the ability to just play these via Game Pass. You got Bratz Rhythm and Style, Enter the Gungeon, F123, He is Coming, Lightyear Frontier, Myth Wrecked, Ambrosia Island, all leaving. I don't give a shit about any of these except for maybe Bratz Rhythm and Style. So there you go, guys. There's your Game Pass update for the week. And with that said, guys, that's going to do it for all of our news. I'm going to take a quick water break because I'm just not feeling 100%. And then I am going to come back. We'll talk about the games I've been playing, comments, listener comments, all that. And then we'll wrap this podcast up. So see you in a bit. All right, guys, welcome back. Let's get into the games I've been playing this past week. But before I can tell you about the games I've been playing, real quick, I want to tell you about what it is I've been eating because, guys, I had a culinary experience that I've been meaning to get around to for, I don't know, better part of 5 years or something like that. So, I don't know, maybe this was like sometime during the pandemic, but Orlando started having this boom where like all these fast food companies that like don't exist in the South, the southeast of the United States, just suddenly started going, hey, let's open a store in Orlando because fucking tourism and whatever. It would be good exposure for our brands. So we started getting all these restaurants we normally didn't have, like Portillo's, which is an awesome Chicago beef sandwich and hot dog place. That's well known. And some other brands and things like that. Raising Cane's is all over the place here now. Which is a Southern brand, but wasn't in Florida for a long time, and whatever, so on and so forth. We got a bunch of different places, but the one in particular I'm here to mention, the reason why I bring this up in the first place is we got White Castle, which the only time I've ever had White Castle is one time in my life. I was in Kentucky. This was like 2018, and I saw White Castle. I'm like, oh my God, when am I ever going to have the chance to get a White Castle burger? So my girlfriend and I stopped here. This is earlier in our relationship. We stopped there. We got a couple burgers, a couple little sliders, some fries, whatever, to try, the basic White Castle menu. And I remember being like, wow, this place sucks. And I thought it was because we were in the middle of nowhere, Kentucky. But this week I learned something important, which is that, no, Kentucky, I owe you an apology. I owe you an apology for judging you by your cover and saying that White Castle sucked probably because I was in the middle of nowhere in Kentucky. No, White Castle sucked because White Castle fucking sucks. So anyway, we've had a White Castle here in Orlando for, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years. I remember like when it opened up, I was really excited to try it out. But everything's terrifying in Orlando. Like we can't open a fucking Denny's without like 8.6 trillion theme park vloggers trying to be the first one there to show you the fucking men's restroom. So, I remember like for a long time it was like, okay, all over the news it was like, oh, there's like a 4-hour line to get White Castle right now. I was like, okay, so I'm not going to go to White Castle anytime too soon. And then it just kind of became one of those things where I waited and then eventually I lost interest because I waited too long. But this past Saturday, I had the pristine opportunity to try White Castle. Literally the perfect storm of events occurred in which warranted a visit to White Castle. So I went to Disney for the first time in like 9 months. I met up with a couple friends, and we just had like a goofy, let loose kind of like drink around Epcot day, which is weird because I'm normally like a Disney purist. I'm like, Walt wouldn't want alcohol in his parks. You're supposed to cry at Horizons when you go to Epcot. But instead I was like, fuck it, I'm jaded and I don't give a shit. My friends want to go to Epcot and drink a beer. Let's go do that. So I ended up drinking I'm not much of an alcohol guy. I'll drink like once in a blue moon, no pun intended. But this was like that once in a year or 6 months kind of opportunity where I had a lot of alcohol, and so we spent the whole day at Epcot, and I consumed just enough alcohol to where, let's just say, Test Track was suddenly the most fun ride I've ever been on. And afterwards, staying at the park, kind of sobering up, we wrapped up the park by riding Guardians of the Galaxy and just waiting in like a fucking hour-long line to just stand still and like get to a point where it's safe to drive. And then after we left the park, it's just one of those things where it's like, let's just do one more thing before we split and go home. And one of my friends was like, yeah, White Castle's like 4 miles from here. You guys want to go to White Castle? I'm like, yeah, that's kind of like the absolute perfect thing to do right now, After drinking like fucking sake in the Japanese pavilion and staring at Kirby plush dolls for 8 hours, that's kind of what I want to do. So we go to White Castle, and I'm like, all right, let me try to like get the most ideal order. I'm like, give me the fucking cheeseburger sliders. Give me they have crinkle cut fries, which if you know anything about French fries, crinkle cut fries are a fucking abomination. So fuck those. So I got these things called like onion petals, which are like onion rings, but like bloomin' onions at the same time. It's like the cross between like a Burger King onion ring and an Outback Steakhouse bloomin' onion. It's like whatever. So I'm like, I love onion rings. Let's go with those. And then I just got on their dessert menu, they have these little like cheesecake on a stick, kind of like mini desserts. So I'm like, all right, we'll get one of those. All right. First of all, the burgers, just incredibly mediocre. Like, you have one of them, you're like, that's okay. And then you have 3 more because an order comes with like 4 of them and they're mini sliders. They're mediocre. They're wet. They're soggy. They're borderline flavorless. Really, the soft bread and the cheese are kind of doing all the work on this thing. And it's just like, like you get like the full creamy, rich umami flavor from like onions with cheese kind of combination, but the beef does nothing. Everything else is just pure wet, soft texture, and that's like all you're getting from a White Castle burger. It's really just not good at all. Then the onion petals were like totally fine, but I made the mistake. I remember I was like really thirsty when we got there. I just wanted like a lot of water or Coke or something. So we got there and I was just like, I want a large because I want to get the biggest drink I could possibly get. And I forgot that also means like your French fries are going to be large. So I got my onion petals or whatever, and they come in this giant fucking container. I'm like, great, I have like five years supply of onion petals. And they're just fine. Like, they're good. Like, I love onion rings. Like, for me, when it comes to fast food onion rings, like Burger King onion rings, they're great. They're fantastic. White Castle onion rings, they're like 6 out of 10. They're totally fine. But after like 10 of them, I'm just like, these are disgusting, man. I can't eat these anymore. Weirdly enough, though, I'll give White Castle some credit. First of all, the place is incredibly efficient. People incredibly nice. Shout out to the people at that White Castle. Very, very good establishment. But the cheesecake, the raspberry cheesecake on a stick, is really fucking good. Obviously, that's just some prepackaged dessert they probably buy from some Cisco type company. I don't fucking know how it works. But it was really good. Like that. Like, if I went back to White Castle, I'd be like, yo, get me one of those little desserts, those little cheesecake desserts. That's all I want. Although I wanted to try a chicken slider because I don't remember if I did that the last time. I feel like I might like that better because White Castle has a competitor that we've always had in the South called Crystal. I don't know if those are nationwide or if that's a Southern thing. I don't know. But Crystal, I actually like. I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I like Crystal. I've always liked Crystal. It's one of those fast food restaurants like Checkers. It's like you don't see them all over the place, and you'll almost never go to one. It's one of those ones you'll go to like maybe 5 times in your entire lifetime at most. But every time I've ever been to Crystal, I actually love Crystal compared to White Castle. And it's weird because White Castle has the cachet and the name brand, the recognition, but Crystal is definitely the better one of the two. But anyway, that's my second attempt at White Castle. Listen, it's Saturday night. You got some alcohol in your system. You're hanging out with friends. Like, that is the perfect recipe for White Castle having any potential of hitting, and it totally missed. So that just means, objectively, White Castle, you suck. And also, you double suck, and I know I can't blame it on the location this time, because one of the things I'll give Florida a lot of credit for is, for some fucking reason, every chain restaurant in Florida is like the best version. I don't know why. It's people in Florida take their chain restaurant food very seriously. So if you go to like a TGI Fridays in Minnesota and it's dying and you're like, who eats here still? Don't worry. You go to the TGI Fridays in Orlando, Florida, and it's pristine. It's like the model store, and they're fucking packed, and there's a 20-minute wait, and the servers are friendly, and everyone's making money. money and all the food comes out perfect. Like, for some reason, chain restaurant food in Florida is just always peak. And that's true in Tampa. It's true in Orlando. And if it's true in other parts of the state, I don't know. I don't care. Because if we're not talking about Central Florida, I don't want to fucking be there. But anyway, that's White Castle in a nutshell. Good time. I'm glad I tried it. I'm glad I had the experience and the knowledge now. But next time, I'm sorry. If a similar situation like that occurs in my life, I'm going to say Taco Bell. If someone says White Castle, I'm going to push them down real hard and say Taco Bell. So that's what you do next time your friends recommend White Castle. And with that said, guys, let's move on over to what it is I've been playing. So let's start out with Marathon real quick, because this is the one I barely played. But the server slam took place this week for Marathon. And actually, let's start with this comment. So Objects in Space writes in and says, what do you think will happen with Marathon? Do you think it'll be a hit, or will it struggle to find a community? Having Bungie behind it can only do so much, especially since they have to steal away players that are already invested in other live service games. I think, being a Bungie game does do something for it. Being a PlayStation game, I think, does do something for it. Being a long-awaited follow-up from a team that never makes games like Bungie, I think does something for it. And I think Arc Raiders being a massive roaring success last fall does something for it. I also think the success of Arc Raiders plus this being like, hey, do you like Arc Raiders? Here's the first person version. I think that does something for it. So I think Marathon has actually quite a few things going for it. $40 is a fair price, but I think it'd be better if it was free to play. But I think $40 is doable. I think the market has responded relatively okay to $40 games when you look at like Helldivers and again Arc Raiders. But I think Marathon will be fine. I don't think this is going to be Highguard. I don't think this is going to be, what's that stupid PlayStation game, the Star Child game, the fucking whatever, you know what I'm talking about, that bombed within 10 seconds. I don't think this is going to be one of those experiences. I think Marathon will be fine. I think it will find an audience. I think it will go on. I just don't think Marathon is not going to replace Arc Raiders. It's not going to be Destiny levels of popular. In fact, you know, if we're just talking about Bungie's most notable games, Halo, Destiny, and now this, I don't think this game has any chance of surpassing the phenomenon, the cultural phenomenon, or the engagement levels of a Halo or Destiny game. But I do think Marathon will find an audience and will do all right. And we know Bungie has other games right now. There's an internal second team at Bungie spooled up that's making a game called Project Gummy Bears right now, which is like some kind of like Smash Bros. Party fighting game or something that's apparently like internally playtesting really well, that there's been a lot of rumors and reports about. So we know Bungie's working on other stuff. They're still supporting Destiny 2, but there's no way that Marathon is going to be the thing to take over Bungie and sustain them solely and support them the way that for a decade Halo did that, or for a decade Destiny did that. I just don't think that that's what Marathon's going to be, but I do think this game will exist and do fine. I think of like the Finals, a game like the Finals. That's a game that's quietly in the background, got an audience, it's doing well, it's rocking and trucking along, but it's not like the game that everyone's talking about all the time. And I think Marathon kind of exists in that space, and that's totally fine, honestly, in a world where 99% of games either fucking fail miserably or end up like Elden Ring, and there's no room for anything in between. I think Marathon has potential to be one of those rare games that kind of just does in between and quietly does its thing in the background. So that is what I think. Now, as far as my interpretation or my experience playing the game, I don't know what to say. There was 3 different days during the server slam that I attempted to play this game. The first night, I was like, I'm too tired, I can't do this. The second time I played it, I was like, I'm really not feeling this. Let me go back to Resident Evil. And then the third time, I was like, okay, I'm going to force myself to fucking play this and do this. I'm going to like it. And then I kept dying, and I was like, fuck this game, dude. So it starts out with this tutorial, and it's like, please beat the tutorial before playing the game online with real people. And if you're trying to play it solo, this tutorial, it will kick your ass because it's not easy. And then if you go online and start playing with people, I only played in the matchmaking or the queue for beginners. I didn't play like the regular map or whatever. There's like a beginner map and a regular map. I only played the beginner map, but I mean, at the end of the day, Marathon is an extraction shooter. You drop in, you run around the map, You find guns and loot and items and things. You hang out with your buddies. You fight NPCs and you fight other players. And yes, it has proximity chat. You can walk around and be like, "Hey, I'm friendly. Don't shoot me. Hold, just kidding, buddy. I'm gonna shoot you and take all your loot now." And then you fucking run around and then they're like, "Extraction available." And then you run to an extraction point and you hold down the extraction point and you try to survive until it's time to leave the map and grab your loot and get out of there. And I understand the gameplay loop. And I see why this is exciting. And I played a little bit of DMZ mode back in Modern Warfare 2 when I was really into that game. So it's not like I have zero experience with the extraction shooter mode. I'm not going to act like I'm some Tarkov guy. I haven't played Arc Raiders. It's just that this is a genre that doesn't do it for me. And it's a shame. It's kind of like Battle Royales where it's like, it looks like something that would do it for me, but it doesn't. You know, like I love first-person shooters. I love third-person shooters. I love arena shooters. I don't love Battle Royale. I don't love extraction shooters. I don't know why these games are trending in this direction where it's like everything has to be like on the line all the time. Everything has to be so fucking intense. I used to like if I wanted everything to be on the line and intense, I'd turn off my Xbox and live in the real world. Like I don't like what are you talking? We got homeless people left and right. Meanwhile, we got fucking you see those 3 American ships that got friendly fired, shot down by Kuwait anti-aircraft, and somehow all the pilots lived, thankfully. But they were talking about how like each one of those planes or each one of those aircraft were like $100 million or something crazy like that. It's just like, yeah, we can't afford, you know, to house homeless people or have affordable healthcare or universal healthcare in this country, but we can fucking build planes and then accidentally, oops, I shot one down in one fell swoop. If I wanted to feel a constant sense of anxiety and precariousness, I would just turn off my Xbox and go engage in the real world. But when I play video games, I want to relax. I want to have fun. I want to engage in either a compelling story in an interesting world, or I want to chat with my buddies and goof off and shoot things. And the thing about it is, extraction shooters and battle royale games do neither of those things for me. I can chat with my buddies and shoot shit if I'm playing Left 4 Dead or Call of Duty, and we're just boom, 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 blasting shit. I can get lost in a game's environment and its story and its characters and its world when I'm playing Resident Evil or Fallout or whatever, right? But when I'm playing extraction shooter, I'm like, shut the fuck up. Everyone shut the fuck up. Oh my God. These fucking idiots are here. Oh my God, ping them. Oh my God, asshole. Oh, he's right over there. Oh my fucking God. I just lost my cock ring. I spent 40 hours trying to grind for that cock ring, and now it's gone. Oh, fuck it. Quit to menu, guys. Quit to menu. Fuck this game. Like, I don't want to play a game like that. I don't want my game to be that stressful. I understand, like, if you're, like, 16 years old, that shit's fun because you don't have, like, a real life. And I understand, like, if your wife left you and beat your kids and, like, took the car and everything, like, maybe you got nothing left, so why not be a masochist and play these kinds of games? But, like, to me, it's just, like, I'm sorry, the extraction shooter genre doesn't resonate with me. And the unfortunate thing is, Marathon has a really fucking cool art style. I really dig this game's art style. It has a very, like, Y2K, cyber future, like, online kind of, like, desolate, post-apocalyptic hybrid, like, thing going on that I really dig. I really, really love, like, the different factions and the logos and the types and the color palette and everything. I think this game looks sick. And then the second you pick up the control and you start running and shooting and moving around the map, it feels like a Bungie game. It's like, oh my God, I forgot Bungie makes the best feeling games. It feels like Halo. It feels like Destiny. It feels so good to play. But that doesn't change the fact that I don't give a shit about extraction shooters and I don't want to play this game. So that's just kind of how I was with it. Another thing that really bugged me is, like, you can, like, boost forward and slide and run, but you're given this stamina gauge. And when it runs out, you're like, it's like an overheat gauge, and you have to wait an absurd amount of time for it to cool down. And I understand the idea of this is that you don't want people like fucking Call of Duty Black Ops 9, like, sliding and flying around the map, shooting people in all different directions. Like, that's fine. But you got to remember, in an extraction shooter, you spend less time fighting people and more time traversing an environment, a large map, and exploring and looting for goods. So when you're constantly punishing the character for running and punishing the character for boosting and sliding around the map, you're also, like, making the exploration and the traversal of the game so much worse and more punishing for no reason. So I feel like there's something wrong with the game from that perspective. Like, it's not fun to really explore because I'm constantly being punished for running and sliding and jumping. But at the same time, I understand why that feature is there when I'm in combat. So it's like, I don't really know what to say about that other than, like, that was like I spent just enough time with the game to realize that like that was a problem for me. But otherwise, it's like, I don't know what to tell you. If you put a gun to my head and said, Jesse, you have to play extraction shooters, this has to be a genre you're into, Marathon would be the very first game I would go to. Because it feels like a Bungie game. It's got a killer aesthetic. It sounds good. It's a good-looking game. I like this game. I like this game from a person appreciating an artistic creation perspective. But in terms of it just being a kind of game that resonates with me and works for me, it's just not. And that's okay. It's not a knock against the game. I think the game's fine. But I don't know, man. It feels really, really weird. And I feel kind of guilty in an arbitrary sense knowing that there's a brand new game by Bungie and I'm not buying it. And I don't really care about it. And I thought I would. I was planning on just buying this game no matter what because it's Bungie. Why wouldn't I? But thank you for letting me play a free 5-day server slam because I learned this game's just not for me. No matter how hard I try, this game is not for me. So that's Marathon. All right, now let's move into the game I've really been playing, which is a game I actually just rolled credits on last night as the time I'm recording this. And that is Resident Evil 4 Remake. So I talked about it a little bit last week where I played like the first hour or whatever. I have poured through this game. I didn't have too much free time this week because I had some things going on this weekend. I worked a little bit, did some other things, so didn't have too much time, but I enjoyed this game so much that I just, normally, like, I have a rule for myself. It's like, you don't play video games on weeknights for the most part. Like, Mondays, it's like, by the time I get home from work, there's so little free time. It's like, you cook, you do the dishes, you work out, you go on a walk with the girlfriend, you spend some time watching TV, you kind of wind down. It's like, there's just not a whole lot of time for games. So, my general rule of thumb is, like, on a Monday through Thursday, at least, I'm not really playing games. But this week, I was so into Resident Evil 4 Remake, and I'm so excited to get to Resident Evil Requiem that I'm like, nah, fuck everything else. Fuck my relationship. Fuck my health. I'm just playing Resident Evil after work. I'm playing Resident Evil in between like activities and things throughout the weekend. Like, I'm just playing Resident Evil. And I blasted through this game and really enjoyed the hell out of it. I think Resident Evil 4 is really great. I wish I had more context for what the original like GameCube or Wii version of the game was like from back in 2005. I know they ported it to a lot of consoles. You can get on Switch and get on PS2 and all these things. But the reason I wish that is because I know that this game is regarded as like one of the seminal action adventure games of all time. And what's weird is like I know like Cronky, my brother, he often complains about this game because even though he likes this game a lot, he often attributes it to being one of the worst Resident Evil games just because of how much of a fucking blasting zombie shooter game it is and how it's like just not very Resident Evil and it lacks like the atmosphere and the horror of like older Resident Evil games and stuff. And while like that's a valid criticism if you feel that way, it's like I also kind of get why this game being the way it is made it so popular because it has like a little bit of a creepy ambiance thing, but it's really not a horror game. It really is more than anything a third-person shooter, a very linear third-person shooter where you're just blowing shit up. And the more the game progresses, the more absolutely batshit this game becomes. Like I love how it's like you're supposed to believe you're in like this Spanish village, and it kind of works for the first few chapters. But by the time you're like 70% through the game, you're like, dude, this could be anywhere. You're like crawling through fucking sewers and dungeons and shit, and you're just like chainsawing enemies and like rocket launching and shit, and other enemies have weapons and stuff. And like I'm like, I don't even think these are zombies anymore. I think we're just fighting humans and monsters at this point. Like it's a ridiculous, wacky game, and it is very Japanese. There's a lot of one-liners and writing in this game that's so cringy, but like in a funny, endearing, charming way, not in like a I hate it way. Leon Kennedy is a wacky, goofy boy, and I get why people like him. He's very lovable in like a wow, this is so Japanese kind of way. And I just overall really, really like this game. They got the hot Asian chick Ada in this game. She's great because she's cool and all that, and she's got a rocket launcher. And then they got like the Ashley girl. You're trying to dude. Nothing more Japanese than like the absolute total lack of explanation. But you're just dropped into a game where you're Leon Kennedy and you're in the backseat of a cop car and you're like looking out the window like some fucking emo teenager that doesn't want to be dragged to your little sister's piano recital. And these cops are talking to you because they're escorting you into this like forest. And they're like, a lot of people go missing out here. And you're like, yeah, whatever. And like flipping your hair and staring out the window and being all sad because My Chemical Romance just broke up or whatever. And it's like, oh my God, this game is so cringy. And what is your objective in this game? Your objective is to save the president's daughter. Why? How? For what reason? Why this happened? Why you? Why the fuck is she in Spain? What's going on? Doesn't matter. The game never bothers explaining it. I don't know if this is tied to previous games or something. Oh, Jesse, you never beat Resident Evil 2. You wouldn't understand. Don't care. This game has got a stupid ass goofy story. The characters have some stupid ass goofy writing, and I love it. It's like in a really campy, goofy, fun way, not in like a this is dumb way. So I really enjoy that enduring aspect of the game. Now I gotta say, here's the thing that's weird for me is like the early hours of this game, I was like, I'm kind of playing this out of obligation because I want to get to Resident Evil Requiem. But by like hour 4 or 5, I was like, nah, fuck that. This game is like genuinely great, and I really liked it. I think as a third-person action-adventure shooter game, whatever, it is just a fantastic game. And one of the reasons I wish I had more reference for the original version of it is because this new remake version, as I'm playing it, I'm like, you know what this really reminds me of is like a precursor to like the PlayStation first-party games, because like the way like, oh, I'll boost you up, and oh, like dialogue happening all throughout the game. These two players are constantly talking to each other, and the story is always evolving as you're puzzle solving and fighting and doing things. It's like this just kind of feels like the Uncharted, Last of Us, God of War kind of formula that PlayStation is addicted to now. And I'm like, I feel like does Resident Evil 4 deserve more credit for kind of like being I don't know, being like a pioneer to this kind of formula? I don't know. Again, that's part what I partially wonder. I'm like, how faithful a remake is this versus like how much was the original game actually like this? But I really enjoy the game. I really think it's good. Now I got it. Let's put it in context. Because much like Cronky, I agree. Resident Evil games seem to be, from my limited experience, it seems like every Resident Evil game is good. They're all fun, but they're not all created equally. So I played like maybe 6 or 7 Resident Evil games, but I've only completed 3 of them. So I'm only going to talk about these 3. But the 3 Resident Evil games I've beaten are Resident Evil 3 Remake, now Resident Evil 4 Remake, and Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. And of those 3, I will say Resident Evil 3 Remake is by far my favorite. I think that game is so good, a little underappreciated. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, that is my second favorite. I love that. Like, I like survival horror games. That game is creepy. It is eerie. The end of it becomes a little action schlocky, but for the most part, 3/4 of that game is very creepy, very fun to explore, and just keep going further. And then Resident Evil 4 is fantastic. I really, really like it, but it's my least favorite of the 3 I've played. But the thing that's crazy about these 3 Resident Evil games I play is each one of them feels so different. They feel like almost like 3 different genres, yet they all feel like Resident Evil. So I think it's really cool. I think the Resident Evil series is really fun. It's really interesting. It's definitely a series that's always escaped me that I'm really excited to kind of get more exposure to, but I am oddly really excited about Requiem. I don't know why. I've just very much been looking forward to it the past week or two. So I bought it, I downloaded it, I'm ready to go. So as soon as I'm done with the podcast this week and the weekend rolls around, my plan is to sit back and play Resident Evil Requiem. Now here's the hot take, here's the weird twist to it all. I bought it on the Switch 2 because I'm fucking stupid and I don't like playing Xbox anymore. I don't know. I got the special edition, so it came with Resident Evil 7, 8, and 9 all together on Switch 2, running natively. I was just really impressed with how good of a port it was. People talking about just how impressive this game looks and runs on Switch 2. So I'm like, let's do something different and fun. Fuck it. Let's play Resident Evil Requiem on Switch. So I'm going to be playing that this weekend. I'm excited to talk to you about it next week, how it is, but so far, I'm just really enjoying this Resident Evil mood I'm in. I really just wanted to keep playing Battlefield, but I forced myself. I said, you can't just play the same live service game all the time. You got to play other stuff. So after forcing myself to play something differently, I really got sucked into Resident Evil 4, and now I'm really on the Resident Evil bandwagon. But brings up a greater issue, which is just that, dude, it's so hard in today's world, because it's like, it's so hard in today's world because it's like... There's so many fucking games coming out all the time. There's so many good games to play. And it's like, there's a version of me that could save a ton of money and just never play any new games and just be like, yeah, whatever, fuck it. I'll just buy Call of Duty every year and I'll buy Battlefield when those come out. And I'll just play these games. Like, I'll just play Battlefield all year and I'll be happy to my heart's content just playing Battlefield. But then there's that other part of me that's like, no, you want to keep up with the industry. You want to keep up with the games. Let's play Resident Evil. Let's play Forza. Let's play Spider-Man. Let's play this. Let's play that. And you just keep playing the new games, and that's also awesome in a different way. But it's just like, man, it's so weird how like you got like pry yourself off of one thing to try another thing, because there's just so much shit demanding your attention, and everything is so good these days that it's like you could just stay lost forever in one or two things, or you could just constantly taste, make, and try a little of everything. It's like going to a buffet and it's like, yeah, I could just eat these short ribs all fucking day and get full off of them, but I kind of want to try, you know, the shrimp and the mac and cheese and the other things on the buffet line, because I don't like to be a one trick pony, bitches. Okay, I don't know. Anyway, that's it for what I've been playing. Really excited to get to Resident Evil Requiem this weekend. And with that said, guys, let's round out the show with the final and best segment, the comments, the shouts from YouTube.com. You know how it works. You head on over to YouTube.com, click on the latest episode of the Xbox On podcast, and drop a comment. Say anything you want. Don't care. We got 5 more comments to get through this week, so let's kick it off with Decoy.Coctopus. Someone has texted me. My phone keeps beeping. What do you want, dude? Is it... Oh, I'm so fucking popular. People keep texting me. So popular. Anyway. Decoy.Coctopus writes in and says, why would you kamikaze a Japanese pilot or plane attack Hiroshima? Analogy ruined. That joke's on you, Decoy Octopus. You should not be listening to anything I say on this podcast. So the fact that you caught on to my stupidity and poked a hole in my logic proves that you're dumb for listening in the first place. So I win, you lose, bye-bye. All right, Cronky writes in and says, you talked about the console market staying at about 200 million players. I think Sony is prepping, last week we talked about, who was it? It was Sean Layden, formerly of PlayStation, who was talking about how the number never really grows or shrinks. It just always kind of hovers around a combined roughly 200 million people between the consoles, and that you can take from someone else's pie, but you can't really add more over, like, from the outside. And so you're talking about that, Cronky, and you talked about how the console market stays at about 200 million players. I think Sony is prepping to get that whole pie. They are no longer putting games on PC. They can hunker down and shitify now. What does that mean? And shitify? Now that they have no competition. Yes, I think so. I think, yeah, I really don't know how I feel about this. Did PlayStation want to do this partially so that when Xbox's next console comes out and lets you run Steam, you can't play PlayStation games? I like to think no, that they don't care, because ultimately at the end of the day, your money's still not going to Xbox when you do that. And also because they know that next Xbox console that's a hybrid PC that's expensive is going to sell like shit. No one's going to ever have it, so it doesn't fucking matter. That thing's dead on arrival anyway. So I don't know what to think about it. But yes, I think Sony is confident that they need to defend their console. I think what happened more than anything, Cronky, is we're dealing with this chip, this RAM shit, and all these component prices jumping up because AI is ruining everything. And I think what Sony's doing is they're looking at it and they're going like, everything's becoming expensive. Xbox is becoming expensive and it's dying. Switch might even raise their prices. PCs are expensive. PC components are expensive. Valve can't even get the Steam machine out. Why don't we just, the PlayStation 6 is delayed reportedly. It's not going to come out in the next year or so because it's like there's no demand for a new PlayStation. So it's like, rather than splitting up our market, why not just double, triple down on PlayStation 5 since no one seems ready to move on? And instead of making it to where it's like, we'll keep doing PlayStation hardware in a couple of years and this year and that year, and we'll release this and that, and you can play your games on PC, and you can do this, you can get the Portal, and you can do that. Let's just really double down on PlayStation 5 and make PlayStation 5 feel like this really special, one-of-a-kind. Yes, it's expensive, but everything else is even more expensive. Got to come here to have the best of best experience. And I think they feel like by locking down their ecosystem, they could actually probably prolong, extend, and sustain PlayStation 5 longer and better by doing that. And I think that's really where this comes from, way more than it has to do anything with Xbox. But yes, I agree. They don't have to compete. PlayStation can kind of just do whatever the fuck they want. It's like Apple. Apple does things all the time these days that don't make sense, that are antithetical to Apple's own ideology and the Steve Jobs way of doing things, but it doesn't fucking matter. Apple can do whatever they want, and people will just stay there because people are really bought into that brand, and that brand has built a lot of goodwill and a lot of buy-in with its community over the years. And so I just think that's where PlayStation is, and you're probably right. Cargo Runner UK writes in and says, Digital Foundry suggested that Xbox should rescue Bluepoint games and put them to work on some old Xbox IP. Sounds like a great idea to me. What games would you like Bluepoint to remaster? Well, for those who don't know, Bluepoint is they were an independent studio forever, but about 3-4 years ago, PlayStation bought them. They're a team that mostly just does ports and remasters, and PlayStation bought them to do ports and remasters, and then they made that Demon's Soul remaster for the PlayStation 5. It did really, really well, and then PlayStation put them on a bunch of bullshit projects. They fucked up. PlayStation did, not Bluepoint, and then PlayStation just shut them down the other day. But yeah, this is a fun exercise to do. But it's important to note that I don't think there's any chance in hell Xbox would ever get whatever by Bluepoint, because the timing is just horrible. Bluepoint would be an amazing get for Xbox, especially if this was like 3 or 4 years ago. But now is a horrible time. Xbox is not in a position to make big acquisitions or spend big money, and they're still reeling after the Activision purchase, and everything is in flux right now. I don't think Asha Sharma should be coming in and being like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm learning Xbox. Anyway, let's buy Bluepoint. You know, she doesn't know that. Maybe she doesn't have people whispering in her ear that now's a good time. I just think it's one of those things where it's a great idea, but the timing is so bad for Xbox. But I know that's not really at the crux of what you're saying. What you're really saying is it's a fun thought exercise. Bluepoint, I don't know. It's funny because they do good things. Actually, for Xbox, they famously did the Titanfall port from Xbox One to Xbox 360 for EA back in 2014. So they have a little Xbox experience, and they've done other multi-platform games that have been on Xbox. But, trying to think about like Xbox exclusive games or like Xbox associated games, that would be cool to see them kind of remake or remaster. Honestly, I think the big thing would be to put them as like a Bethesda support team and be like, remake Fallout 3, remake Fallout New Vegas, or remaster rather. That kind of stuff. They'd be a great team for those kinds of things, because there's definitely a hunger for that kind of content. As far as Activision goes, they could be a team that remakes a lot of old Activision stuff, maybe brings the Marvel shit forward. That would be really cool. But I don't know, in terms of like real like Xbox stuff, I don't know, man. I'm trying to think. Maybe like a Fable remaster would be cool to have in anticipation of the new Fable, but I know there's already that Fable Anniversary Edition from the Xbox 360 that's like kind of the de facto way to play the original Fable. They could do something crazy like an IP owned by Xbox that like BioWare or something made, like Jade Empire. That would be a crazy one to see. Or the always underappreciated but my favorite Quantum Break from the Xbox One generation. That would be a fun one. But I'm trying to think, like, are there any like deep cuts? Like, you don't want to have them like do like Blinks the Time Cat or something like that. It's like, come on, that's just goofy. So I'm not trying to say anything like super stupid like that. Oh, that's the one I was thinking of. You know what? It was a Namco game, but it was only on Xbox. This would be crazy. Breakdown. Breakdown would be a fucking weird one for them to bring back. Obviously not very, licensing wise, I don't know how that would play out. But if it's just for the fun of the exercise, seeing Breakdown come back would be a weird but cool thing to see nonetheless. I don't know, man. It's a fun exercise. I wish I had better answers for you. Maybe Jet Set Radio Future. I don't know. But anyway, thanks for writing in, Cargo Runner. I appreciate you as always, man. All right, our penultimate comment here comes from 360 Bro YouTube, who writes in and says, very aligned with your thoughts, Jesse. Phil saved Xbox in 2014. He did a lot of good building out the first-party portfolio and the creation of Game Pass as an option. There were also mistakes, though, betting on the wrong people like Matt and Sarah, taking too long to get good games out, and of course, supporting the Activision Blizzard deal, which ultimately took Xbox third-party. When the announcements dropped, I celebrated because something had to change, but did so knowing that it could only get worse from here because, as you said, the red line had been crossed already and there's no salvaging Xbox. I'm hoping for the best, though, expecting nothing. Fingers crossed that the studios under Xbox don't become collateral. I also sold my Series X today, so there's no going back for me. Well, 360 Bro, congrats for you, man. I appreciate you making a decision, doing what you got to do. I feel like you and I are very aligned, except I feel like you and I are on the same wavelength, like thought-wise, but you had the balls to pull the trigger, and I'm going to hold on to the fucking grave like a bitch. Because I know myself. I'll buy that stupid fucking $1,200 Xbox hybrid Steam machine box thing that they're making, and I'll hate it, and I'll be disappointed. I'll be like, why did I buy this? But I'm going to stick with Xbox as much as I can to the end. But also, I got one foot out the door knowing full well that when this is over, when Xbox is like really dead and gone, I'm going to be a PC Switch gamer. That's probably where I'm headed, where I'll play like, obviously my Nintendo shit and a lot of Japanese shit and indie shit will go on my Switch, and then all the unique Steam related stuff or like Western games or big RPG games or big visual fidelity games and things like that will all be, or like traditional Xbox games will all be on PC/Steam Deck/Steam Machine or whatever. So I think that's probably where I'm headed. It's conflicting because it's like, a part of me is like, yeah, why not just go to PlayStation? It's like the closest thing to an Xbox. It's a home console. It's everything you used to like about Xbox, but it's a PlayStation. But it's like, man, I don't want to lose out on like Wolverine and Spider-Man and stuff, but like, I just don't want to go to PlayStation. Like, if I can't have Xbox, I'd much rather be on PC. I don't know, there's just something about PlayStation where as a platform, it's like, I respect it. There's no denying PlayStation's fantastic, but like, it doesn't call to me the way that like PC or Xbox do. So I think I'm probably going the PC route as well. You know, I'll still have my Switch. I'll play my Resident Evil games there apparently or something. And then, you know, when it's time for like Elder Scrolls 6 or whatever, I'll have a PC or a Steam machine or something to enjoy it on. So 360, bro. Yeah, man, I think a lot of us are in this boat where we're having to start make these decisions, but I am going to hold on to Xbox for as long as I can because I enjoy it, and I know once it's really gone, I'll miss it. So as someone who's been through this before with Microsoft many times, I know what it's like to get the Microsoft Band and the Windows Phone and a lot of the good Surface products ripped from underneath you. I know the best thing you can do is go down with the ship, because once it's truly over, you know, I look in my closet and I see my box full of Windows Phones. They're just hunks of plastic that I can't do anything with at this point in time. So I'm going to enjoy my Xbox as much as I can before it's just another hunk of plastic that Microsoft gave up on and middle fingered me for fucking supporting. So Mr. Maug has the final write-in, guys. He says, my first reaction to Asha Sharma being announced as new CEO. Ready for it? Wow, she's really cute. I know, my primal guy brain kicking in. My second reaction was, oh wow, they're putting someone in charge who's really young. Yeah, that was a shocking one for me as well, man. I was like, damn. Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of expected to be. I don't know what her age is, but she looks young. She looks like she's like barely older than me. I'm like, damn, dude, I'm not even old enough to fucking operate like a Fisher Price toy for kids ages 0 to 2. Like, how the fuck is this woman in charge of Xbox? Anyway, you said all that aside, I think the biggest thing Asha Sharma I think the biggest thing Asha Sharma's got is going. What the hell is this grammatically? But all that aside, I think the biggest thing Asha Sharma is going to have to accomplish is keeping current Xbox players for the next Xbox PC hybrid. Good fucking luck. Convincing PC players to stay on Windows. Convincing them to buy their games on the Xbox store instead of Steam. Good fucking luck. And capturing anyone who's thought of going to PC to go to the next Xbox, since it's basically a PC. I think it's going to be tough not only getting people to buy that from Xbox PC Store, but because everyone loves Steam, but also keeping console experience you mentioned and enjoyed so much when you launched Battlefield 6. I think placing her in the position was really to generate buzz, since everything makes Xbox headlines. Everything at Xbox makes headlines, and to throw Phil and mostly Sarah under the bus for the everything is an Xbox lack of exclusivity. I don't think we'll ever have exclusivity back, but maybe a delayed launch of games on other platforms, and maybe a delayed launch to other storefronts while keeping the day one Xbox on the Xbox Store. That might be the way to go. This game comes out on Xbox, PC, and Xbox consoles on May 6th, and then it comes out on PlayStation, Steam, all the other things a year later, something like that. And that sounds like a good compromise. It sounds like about the best or most realistic option you could expect, I would say. But yeah, I think you touched on something important here, Mr. Maug, which is that when Asha talks about the console being core and building off of that, I think that's what she probably talks about, or what it will eventually. I don't think she knows anything yet, but I think after she meets with people and has conversations and observes and decides how to start making her first decisions, I think that's what that will result in, is How do we respect the console and take care of the Xbox hardware first? By making things timed exclusive, because you're sure as hell not going to give up that PlayStation money. So yeah, I think that's exactly it, Mr. Maug. I think that's probably the best you can hope for, because there's no chance in hell they're not putting fucking Halo on PlayStation. Can you imagine? I mean, PlayStation, you can go on your PS5 now, boot up the store, and see a listing for Halo Campaign Evolved, and pre-order it, and look at the trailer, and see it all there on your PlayStation. Can you imagine a world where it's like, we almost had Halo on PlayStation, and then the last moment, the new CEO of Xbox pulled it from the storefront on PlayStation and canceled it? Like, that'd be a fucking wild story. But it's like, do you believe it? No, I sure as hell don't. Do you? But yeah, this is going to be the hurdle. It's like, how do you take the 30 million people who have an Xbox Series S or X and say, please buy this Xbox hybrid console for $1,200? Spoiler alert, there's going to be like a 5 to 10% follow through rate on upgrading to that device. Next of all, it's like, if you get these people over to PC, it's like, how do you get them to play on the Xbox storefront, not the Steam page? Good fucking luck. I'm about the best you could hope for that, like the kind of person who will choose Xbox over Steam on their PC. And even I still choose Steam like 9 times out of 10 over Xbox. It's just, listen, you can't mess with the best. Steam just is the best. It's everything that's great about Xbox on console, but on PC with even more better shit. It's just, you can't compete with Steam. And the Windows team and Xbox have done such a piss poor job of making Xbox a viable and fun experience on Windows that it's like, good fucking luck, man. It's nothing but an uphill battle. But keep developing that PC hybrid console and see how it does for you. It makes no sense, because you're not going to make any money when people are buying their games on Steam. You're not going to make any fucking money when only 5% of Xbox owners upgrade to this console. You're not going to make any fucking money when everyone chooses PlayStation over you because all your games are over there. But sure, keep R&Ding this PC hybrid device and say that you're committed to Xbox hardware. Maybe the more you say it, the more you'll believe it, because I sure as hell don't believe it. But Mr. Maug, I appreciate the write-in, and I appreciate all you guys for writing in. I think that's a great way to wrap it up. And with that said, guys, I will see you all next week. I'm going to start editing this motherfucker and get to bed, because the sooner I get to bed, the sooner I can get to work tomorrow. The sooner I get to work tomorrow, the sooner I can get home from work tomorrow. And the sooner that happens, the sooner I can start Resident Evil Requiem on my Nintendo Switch 2 device for the family console home system entertainment. Yes. Guys, take care, be good, wash behind your ears, don't eat White Castle. If you think the new CEO of Xbox is cute, that's fine, but don't DM her. She's not going to reply. I'm just fucking with you, Mr. Maug. But all is well. You guys are awesome. I appreciate it as always, and have a great week. Be safe and take care. Power your dreams!